Okay, we're going to go ahead and do wire looping, and I'm going to make these earrings. So I'm going to show you how to start off with the head pins and then how to use plain wire to make a connection. So for this project I'm going to use the beads, 2 ear wires, a couple sterling silver balls, daisies, 2 head pins, and 24 gauge half hard wire. I have 3 inches here. The tools I'm going to use are going to be my chain nose, my cutter, and my round nose pliers. So to start off with, when you are doing any type of wire looping, you always start with the bottom first, which means that I'm going to start with the head pin end first, because, or if I was doing a bracelet or something, I would start with the toggle end first. It just gives you a cleaner finish. So for this project, we have the square at the bottom to sort of set up your pattern the way you want it. So I have my square at the bottom and my round at the top. Put a daisy on my head pin, bead the square on, put another daisy, and then I'm putting a sterling silver ball. And these little balls not only work good for the wire looping, but it also helps when you're making your loop. Okay, when I make my very first loop, what I'm going to do is hold the bead in my hand, in my left hand, or my non-dominant hand, and rotate the round nose to make sort of a 7 away from me. And then you get the excess wire here and wrap it around towards you and then hold it together with this bead. Now this is the tricky part that a lot of people have problems with. You're going to loosen the jaws of the plier, rotate the plier so that way this, where it was on the top jaw, is now the bottom jaw. And at this point I switch my pliers so that way the plier is in my non-dominant hand, because I'm right-handed and I'm going to be doing the work with my right hand. So I switch the pliers and I pull that tail towards me like that. I just move it towards me. It's wire, so it moves pretty easily. And now I'm going to grab my chain nose pliers and hold the end of the wire here. The closer you are to the end, the tighter and more control you have. Then you start wrapping it around the other wire slowly, like that, until it's snug up against that sterling silver ball. You're going to take out your pliers and you snip the wire as close as you can to the ball and to the wrap without cutting it, without cutting the wrap. And you always hold on to your spare piece so that it doesn't go flying across the room and hit somebody in the eye. The other thing about getting a close cut, if you look at your cutters, you'll notice there's a flat edge here and there's an edge where it sort of concaves in. You always want to cut with the flat edge up against the wire like this, so that way it gets you a close cut. Finally, you're going to come in with your chain nose and you're just going to smush down whatever you didn't get cut off. Like that. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to connect this round piece to the square. And I'm going to use this piece of wire. I'm going to cut it in half, this 3 inches in half, because I don't need all that wire. And now I'm going to get my round nose with nothing on the wire, and I'm going to come down about this far, which is maybe a fingernail length, and I'm going to do my wrap like I did with the bead, but I'm going to hold the wire. So I'm going to bend away from me, pull this around, open the jaws of the plier, rotate the plier, close the jaws again, and switch hands. And now I'm going to pull this little tail forward. Before, what we did was we got the chain nose and we finished wrapping. In this case, I want to connect it to this. So I'm going to pull it open just a little bit like that while I'm still holding the loop in the round nose pliers. Take it off, and then I'm just going to pop it in. And most of the time you can either feel it or you can even hear it pop in. So I'm going to just pop it in like that. And now I'm going to hold the loop that I want to finish in my chain nose, in my round nose, like this. I'm going to rotate it in my other hand again. Now I'm going to get my flat nose and finish my wrap. I have a little bit, it's a little short here, and especially when you're first learning, you might want to just use a little bit longer piece of wire. So that way you have more to grasp onto. Then I'm going to cut, remembering to cover before I cut. Smash it down. And now I'm going to put on my daisy, my bead, and my daisy again. And then I'm going to make a complete loop like I did on the square one. Hold it in your fingers, rotate it back, pull the back around, rotate your pliers, change hands. And if you notice, this time I went ahead and I pushed that back. That's just because that's how I usually, from having practice, and I know what the next step is. But you need to train your hands to do it the correct way first. Grab the tail as close to the end as I can. Wrap it around. And I usually do it just about 2 times. Trim the edges. Squish it down. And now I'm going to put the ear wire on. With these type of wires, I really like these wires actually. They have this ball on the end here. And when you open an ear wire, it's just like opening a jump ring, and you open it away like that. You don't ever open it round or open it out, because then it loses the integrity. The wire loses its integrity. Then I'm going to slide this part through, pop it into that hole there, and then I'm going to close it the same way that I opened it, only the opposite direction. So pull it back up with my chain nose, and sometimes when you pull it back up, you go a little past and then let go, and it springs back. And there you have your first wire looped earring.